You're watching Newsday TV. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ken Bufa. A man accused of stabbing two women to death has been indicted. Now, the first killing happened at his Valley Stream home. Prosecutors say last month, Ronnie Yahir Alvaenga Rivera stabbed the woman who lived upstairs from his apartment dozens of times for allegedly walking around in high heels. Then the 22-year-old took a train to Island Park, where he allegedly stabbed his Wendy's co-worker dozens of times. The man is due back in court next month and faces up to life in prison. And Kristen Scully is accused of stabbing a Massapequa man to death with a pocket knife while he was sleeping. The 22-year-old pleaded not guilty.
He climbed the stairs to seek the assistance of his mother, screaming. His mother and father came to his aid. They attempted to control that bleeding in the kitchen.
Prosecutors say 28-year-old Robert Carragher died in his father's arms. It happened on Beaumont Avenue early Monday morning. Scully could face 15 years to life in prison if convicted. And the Suffolk County Water Authority has filed a lawsuit over alleged water contamination. The utility is suing the owners of a battery storage facility in East Hampton. The suit accuses the company of contaminating water wells while they were suppressing a fire back in 2023. The Water Authority shut down the wells after chemicals were found. And New York is leading 6 other states in suing the Trump administration over a wind farm deal. The suit is looking to stop the cancellation of nearly $800 million deal with a company to withdraw from its offshore wind farm lease. Now, the feds say security risks were part of the reason for canceling. And first in Newsday, NYU Langone Health is planning to build a new hospital here in Melville. Plans for the multi-billion-dollar space include more than 500 hospital beds. The proposal is set on 45 acres where 2 Huntington quadrangle office buildings are. This would be Long Island's first new hospital since 1980. All right, let's take a quick look at tomorrow's weather. What a gorgeous day we had today. Perfect for walking outside. Tomorrow, much of the same temps in the mid-70s, sun overhead. We'll have that 7-day forecast for you later in the broadcast. A gun violence prevention class will be taught to Long Island inmates. Virginia Huey has a story in Suffolk County.
An ex-convict fatally shoots an NYPD officer from Massapequa. An 18-year-old ballerina fatally shot and killed in a botched murder-suicide attempt in Wisconsin. A 15-year-old boy killed in a suspected gang-related shooting in East Meadow. They're among tens of thousands of gun violence cases nationwide in recent years.
How do we change the gun violence that's going on in our communities?
Suffolk County Sheriff Errol Toulon says the answer is education. Today, the Sheriff's Department and Northwell Health Center for Gun Violence Prevention launched Project Safe and Sound.
The individuals participating will learn about the causes and consequences of firearm violence, the role of trauma and community factors, the impact gun violence has on families and neighborhoods, and the importance of resilience, healing, and personal growth.
The first class will consist of 20 inmates serving time for gun-related crimes here at the Yaphank Correctional Facility. The month-long curriculum will be taught by Northwell Health professionals and guest speakers.
Self-esteem is something that we must build.
Former NBA All-Star Jason Williams will be one of the featured speakers. Williams served more than 2 years in prison for the accidental shooting of his limousine driver in 2002.
I want to speak to people about gun violence. I caused an accident. That you live with for the rest of your life.
Stephanie Drain of Hempstead lost her son, Andre Graydon, in a shooting outside a Hempstead bar in 2014. Drain will speak to inmates about the lasting impact of gun violence.
Awareness means helping people understand that every decision involving a firearm has consequences that extend far beyond that individual.
Northwell Health doctors say similar gun violence prevention programs nationwide have saved lives.
Firearm homicide rates in every city in America above 100,000 have gone down in the last 2 to 3 years by 50 to 60% in some cases.
If we can help prevent one future victim, then this program is a success.
For Newsday TV, I'm Virginia Huey.
Police say there's a crackdown on dangerous driving. New statewide data shows Suffolk police increased enforcement while ticketing dropped in Nassau. Sherry Einhorn and Newsday transportation reporter Peter Gill explain why.
Newsday spent a year investigating different aspects of the traffic safety crisis on our Long Island roadways as part of a project called Dangerous Roads. As part of that project, our reporters looked at data periodically, and some of that data had to do with dangerous driving ticketing. Transportation reporter Peter Gill is going to tell us what you most recently found that shows some significant changes, right?
That's right. Yeah, we looked at ticketing for some serious violations. That's speeding, aggressive driving, impaired and distracted driving. And across those categories, ticketing in Suffolk County was significantly up last year in 2025 and decreased in Nassau County. Suffolk County Police Department on their own handed out about 26% more of those tickets year over year. Nassau County Police really haven't recovered after falling significantly in their ticketing during the pandemic, and last year handed out about half the number of tickets that they did pre-pandemic.
What is the reasoning for the increase in Suffolk and the decrease in Nassau?
So in Suffolk, we talked to Commissioner Kevin Catalina, and he said that he's really made ticketing and enforcement a priority since taking over the department last year. And he's increased the size of the highway patrol, as well as asked all officers to do more traffic enforcement. Nassau County Police didn't respond to our request for comment.
Transportation reporter Peter Gill, thanks so much for the update.
The Knicks are preparing for an NBA Finals rematch nearly 30 years in the making. They take on the Spurs in Game 1 tomorrow night. So, Jamie Stewart and Knicks beat reporter Steve Popper look at the matchup.
Newsday Sports is brought to you by Sun Nation Energy, helping Long Island homes and businesses save with solar for over 20 years.
I'm Jamie Stewart. The NBA playoffs began with 20 teams. Now we're down to the Knicks and Spurs in a battle for the NBA title. Game 1 this Wednesday night in San Antonio. The Knicks haven't won it all since 1973. Let's bring it all to Newsday's Steve Popper to break it down. Steve, the Knicks are the hottest team in hoops. They've won 11 in a row. But the Spurs are led by 7'4" megastar Victor Wembanyama. Do the Knicks have the manpower to slow him down?
I do. First, I would say I don't believe he's 7'4". I think he's taller than that. I've stood next to him, and I've stood next to Kristaps Porzingis. He's bigger. He's just either that or he's young and he's still growing. I don't know. But the Knicks do have, I think, as well a chance as anybody in the NBA. They have the pieces to defend him. Oddly, it's 6'7" OG Anunoby, who's done a better job against him than anyone in the NBA defensively. But they've got then Karl Anthony Towns at 7 foot. Mitchell Robinson, depending on the broken pinky, if he's available, is obviously an elite defender, at 7'1". They have a lot of guys they can throw at him. If you look at Oklahoma City, who they just defeated, they had tried using a guard, Alex Caruso, at times. Teams try and muscle him up, try and get him out of position, force him out. But he's so versatile, the things he can do. But I think the Knicks have a lot of pieces they can throw at him.
So the Knicks and Spurs played 3 times this NBA season. Knicks won 2 of them, including the NBA Cup. Both teams seem much better now. Can we take away anything from those 3 games?
Yeah, look, I think the Knicks were pretty dominant in them. Even the game they lost, I think they had a 19-point lead and blew it under an avalanche of 3-pointers. The NBA Cup, to me, was the best test of this because it was odd. We were in Vegas. It's not the kind of thing you'd expect to be a championship or a postseason sort of atmosphere, but it was. They were playing to win that, and it meant something, even if the Knicks didn't hang a banner.
All right, Steve, so here we go again. The question, rest or rust? Knicks have had 9 days off. Spurs have had off since Sunday. So this is an advantage for the Knicks, or are the Spurs, who are the second youngest team to ever reach the finals, are they immune to fatigue?
Well, I think, first of all, I'd say the Knicks, the experience of having it last round, I think sort of teaches you what worked, what didn't work. if we remember that Cleveland game one, they came out, were in a 22-point hole before they came back with a great fourth quarter comeback. I don't think you're going to see that again. I think the Knicks realize we've got to approach it differently, and they had that experience to kind of learn from. I think there was a little bit more intensity, edge kept in the practices this week. It's sort of like, you learn, who would ever expect to have 2 9-day breaks in a single postseason? But I think they learned from that first one. And as far as San Antonio, I kind of feel like they've had wars here. And Wemby's always kind of been on a minutes limit. He was playing a ton in this series, with very little rest. I think he was 42 minutes in that game 7. They had a day off, and then they're back at practice yesterday and back at practice today. To me, it's interesting. The Knicks, I think, are going to try and play off that fatigue. But the one thing I will caution, if the Knicks are a slow starting team in this, you got to be careful, because the Spurs against OKC came out of the gate on fire almost every game.
All right, final question, the $1 million prediction, Knicks or Spurs for the NBA title. What do you think?
Well, I feel like you can make $1 million if you go against my picks, but I picked in the paper. I picked the Knicks in 6.
And to read more about the Knicks' first trip to the finals since '99, you can go to Newsday.com. Click Get More below the Newsday TV video box.
All right, let's take a look at your 7-day forecast to see how the weekend is shaping up. Tomorrow night doesn't matter. We'll be home watching the Knicks, so we can throw that one away. But as for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, it looks like we are dry temps in the 80s as we lead into the weekend. But then we do have some rain coming in Sunday, Monday. Again, look at those temperatures. We are finally reaching 80s for a few days.
Long Island weather is brought to you by Fire Island Ferries.
Now, for more on the stories you've seen here today, head over to Newsday.com. Click Get More below the Newsday TV video box. I'm Ken Bufa, Newsday, covering Long Island like no one else can.
Inside look at Long Island businesses as Newsday presents LI Works. Join Ken Bufa as he samples unique jobs and meets the people behind them. LI Works, now available at Newsday.com/LI Works.